Okay, your favorite monsterologist, yours truly, is in Thailand currently, and I'm investigating some ghost stories so I can share those with you on future episodes. I'm in a temple area called a Wat now, and as many of you know, it's very common in not just Thai culture, but in Khmer culture and Cambodian culture to have these spirit houses, which one makes offerings to. And so here we are in a Buddhist temple, but this is part of animism that goes way back, long before Buddhism ever got here. And if you can take a look in here, you'll see that there's offerings of flowers, and sometimes looks like water here, and you can put out whiskey or vodka, sort of fake money. And the idea is to build these little homes so that the local ghosts will live in those homes, and if you make offerings to them, they'll leave you alone. So it's good luck, it protects you, and it keeps the sort of mischievous spirits out of your hair. Very common sight in most Thai homes, businesses, and even tucked into the corner of a Buddhist temple. I want to share with you the story of the Kumantong, which is a ghost baby. It's translated usually as the golden boy, but it's really a story of a ghost baby. What you're seeing here are just sort of general images of me doing artwork in Thailand for the several weeks that I've been here, and also trying to just really learn the visual language and then share the stories with you. This story we're talking about today of the Kumantong is fascinating because in 2012 there was a British guy he was of Taiwanese origin, and he was arrested in Bangkok in a hotel room, and inside his luggage were 6 roasted human fetuses covered in gold leaf, and the cops knew exactly what it was. These were the Kumantong. These are basically effigies or amulets or talismans, and they're thought to contain the ghost, this golden boy ghost. And if you worship this golden boy ghost inside these burned fetuses, you will have great success in business, and your business ventures will go far. So this guy was getting ready to sell these for like 5 times the money he spent. I think he spent something like $60,000 for these 6 fetuses, and he was going to sell them for about 5 times that amount, and he was arrested. So this is a kind of macabre and disturbing story. I'm going to sort of try to explain a little later how people might be getting hold of fetuses to do this kind of necromancy. But perhaps it's worth just telling you the origin story, which comes from a Thai epic poem that everyone pretty much in Thailand knows. Like, kids learn it from a very early age. It's basically called Kunchang Kunpain. And this is a huge novel. It's like 1,000 pages or something like this. And it's a lot like other epic poems. It's love, loss, death, sex, everything. And one of the main characters, Kunpain, is married to a sorcerer's daughter, and they have a falling out. The sorcerer basically first likes Kunpain, but then wants to basically kill him, and the sorcerer convinces his daughter, the wife of Kunpain, to actually poison him. When he figures out this is going to happen, he discovers that the unfaithful wife is actually pregnant with his child, and he kills her and removes the baby. Now, the child does not survive this process, and Kunpain then takes the child, the dead fetus, to the temple and burns the child on a fire. This desiccates and dries out the child, but the child had been wrapped in sort of prayer cloth, and Kunpain is basically chanting and praying over this dead child. And eventually, once this ritual is completed, you get the rise of the ghost child. This this dead child actually becomes the ghost child, Kumantong. And this is a spirit baby, a ghost baby, that then helps Kunpeng, his father, through the various trials and tribulations of the epic poem. So it's a very strange story because Kunpeng basically carves him out of his mother, dead, and then the child is recreated as a ghost, which then becomes a guardian spirit for his father, and he's totally devoted and loyal to his father. It's a very strange story, and it has influenced Thai culture because there's kind of this necromancy version that's really sort of a black magic, the dark arts, and then there's a more benign sort of cute version where you'll see the golden boy, the Kumantong, is like represented as a little golden statue or an amulet, and you can get this, and it's good luck, and it's supposed to be good for business. There was a case in the 1990s, for example, where a Buddhist monk was actually engaged in this necromancy. His name was Harn Roxajit, and he was arrested for roasting a stillborn baby in the cemetery. When he was arrested, he said he was trying to bring forth the ghost Kumantong, and they defrocked him, and he spent some time in jail. But when he got out, he continued this kind of black magic stuff as well. What you see me drawing here is just my own attempt to capture the desiccated child. You'll see me doing a kind of watercolor drawing. These are watercolor pencils, and it's basically my attempt to draw a mummy fetus. And then I come into it with just a water brush, like there's just water in the brush, and when you hit the paint with that water brush, it really activates the watercolors. Then I go in with watercolors, and even at the end I use some gold leaf to apply to this character, just sort of symbolically. Since I'm in Thailand, there's gold leaf everywhere. It's very common here when you go to the temple to pay some money, get a little sheet of gold leaf, and then you say your prayer and you ask for the Buddha's help, and then you place that gold leaf onto a statue of the Buddha, or it could be your astrological sign, what have you. So that's common, and so I've got some gold leaf here that I add to this image here fairly soon. But there's some interesting stories, like there was a recent story in the Bangkok Post of these twins that were kind of popular in the 90s here as pop singers, and then their career sort of went to hell, and they were fairly rudderless after that and didn't know what to do and were losing money. And then their mother gave them Kumantong, which was an actual desiccated child that their grandfather had in his collection, and they began to pray to it and ask it for help, and their careers turned around and they became more successful and started to earn money at various businesses. And today these twins actually have like almost 2,000 Kumantong effigies or amulets in their home. They have little sculptures, and there were pictures of them in the Bangkok Post. It's like a lucky charm for protection, financial success, and some of them are thought to have human body parts, even though that's illegal and they're not supposed to, and others are just these sort of benign, kind of fun little amulets made of wood or metal. Okay, I'm on a journey to find the Kumantong amulet or talisman. And
this turns out to be a much harder amulet to find. It's common in Thailand to go to amulet markets, which I've been doing, and I've been told repeatedly that they're hard to find, they're rare. This is the ghost boy. I was told, well, check out at the temple, because sometimes people want to buy a kumantong and then offer it at the shrine or have it blessed by a monk. So, I tried that, and the monk at the temple, a novice, basically almost freaked out and said, no, that's black magic. We don't have that here. So eventually I made it to an specialized amulet market, and they found me my kumantong. And so without further ado, let me show you this thing.
Okay, here is that beauty that I found. It's I paid top dollar for this kumantong, and it took me a while to get it. It's very common to encase an amulet like this in plastic or glass, and then you wear it around your neck. I have several amulets that I wear. I've been coming to Asia for 25 years. When I was in China, I had one of Guangong, which is a famous character from Chinese literature. Oftentimes they're different Buddhas, and it's a very sort of magical, supernatural culture. These are very commonly thought not just to bring prosperity financially, but it's very common for soldiers in war to wear amulets with the hope that they'll provide magical protections. It's no different from Western religions that are very supernatural too. When I was growing up as a Catholic, we wore a scapula, which was an amulet of a saint around our neck. It's very common in Catholicism, for example. Here what I'm doing is just a drawing of one of these more benign amulets of a golden boy, not the desiccated dead corpse, but the kind of more happy-go-lucky version that's emerged in popular culture, where you just buy these, like my own amulet that I got, as a way to increase your prosperity. I love this idea that's very common, and I do think there's something in the story about loyalty between the son and the father that's strangely at play here. It remains to just mention, how does one get a body part like a fetus? And it's a macabre detail, but it seems relevant. They interviewed a police chief for one of these stories in the Bangkok Post, and he was saying, well, sometimes you have an abandoned baby that ends up at a hospital, and there might be a story in the news about it, or there'll be a miscarried child or stillborn child that'll end up at the morgue, and then somebody inside the morgue or the hospital who's corrupt and knows that they can get good money on the black market will steal the child, and it will end up in the black market, and they'll make a ton of money on it. So that's the sort of way in which the body parts end up. Even though it's totally illegal, they can end up on the black market. So, all right, that's a lot, and it's not a monster per se, but it is a ghost baby that's both positive and negative. This is very common in Asia. The monsters can also be spiritual divinities, very helpful. They're a lot like the Greek gods in that sense. They're bad for your enemies, but once they're on your side, they're good for you. All right, I hope you enjoyed this kind of thing, and click the subscribe button and come back for more content. Take care.